Welcome, age of vintage society. They say good girls go to heaven, but bad girls go everywhere. That was true for actress Mamie Van Doren. After being discovered by millionaire Howard Hughes, the former beauty queen became a sex symbol of the 50s, who was way ahead of her time. Known as one of Hollywood's earliest feminists, Van Doren was destined to become a star. Why was Mamie Van Doren the antithesis of Marilyn Monroe? Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Age of Vintage channel. Van Doren didn't care if she didn't resemble the other women around her. Between her numerous famous lovers to making a difference during war times, Van Doren put her name on the map in a big way. So put on your best red lipstick and buckle up as we go through the scandal, rivalry and revenge of Van Doren's loud and proud life. She is best known for the rock and roll juvenile delinquency exploitation movie Untamed Youth. She is also known for being one of the first actors to imitate Marilyn Monroe's appearance. Marilyn, Mamie and Mansfield, of Jane Mansfield, were known widely as the 3 M's. The third M was Mamie Van Doren, the baddest of them all. To accentuate her sex symbol image, most of her wardrobe in several movies consisted of sweaters, low-cut blouses, form-fitting dresses and swimsuits that were too bold for the era. Apart from movies, Doren has made guest appearances on TV shows, such as Jukebox Jury, What's My Line and The Bob Cummings Show. In 1987 she released her autobiography, Playing the Field, which garnered a lot of attention and proved to be her biggest media splash in over 2 decades. Mamie Van Doren is a 1950s sex symbol and bad girl to the core. On and off screen she exuded sexuality and slept with half of Hollywood's heartthrobs. Yet despite the comparisons, Mamie was the antithesis of Marilyn. Instead of sweet, demure innocence, Mamie was loud, proud, ever so naughty, and she didn't give 2 hoots. As a result, Mamie's career has been rife with scandal. Wherever she went, trouble was never far behind. So what happened to this outrageous blonde bombshell? Did she go the same way as Marilyn and Jane? The best way to find out is by watching this video until the end, and we guarantee you're in for a big surprise. While the world knows her as Mamie Van Doren, the starlet was born Joan Lucille Orlando on February 6, 1931, right about the time Bonnie and Clyde were robbing banks across the Midwest. In May of 1942, Joan and her parents, Lucille Harriet Bennett and Warner Carl Orlando, moved to Los Angeles. Despite, or maybe because, she grew up on a Midwest farm during the Great Depression with no running water or electricity, she was destined to become a shining star. Her parents chose the name Joan after screen siren Joan Crawford. Even as a kid, she knew she was special and gifted and wanted to be an entertainer. She later mused, "I had attention without having to do anything." So she started working as an usher at Hollywood's Pantage Theatre. But as you'll see over and over again, she doesn't exactly hang around. While it might not have been the most glamorous job, it helped her to get into the world of acting. After just 1 year at the theatre, she got a small part on a TV series. When she was 15, Joan took part in a screen test, but they said she looked too much like Marilyn Monroe. By the age of 17, Joan and her lover, sportswear manufacturer Jack Newman, had eloped to Santa Barbara, California. But within next to no time, the relationship turned ugly when Newman started abusing her, so the marriage was dissolved. Joan swiftly and deservedly divorced her abuser within a year. She wasn't a late bloomer, but she regretted rushing into a serious commitment because Newman turned out to be completely different than the man she fell in love with. After the couple eloped, Newman started abusing Van Doren because she was young and vulnerable. During their honeymoon in San Francisco, he tried to throw her off their balcony, and Van Doren knew she had to get out of the marriage quickly. Newman would have stood in the way of her dreams, and that was the last thing she wanted. While she has just gotten out of a short and abusive relationship, Van Doren wasn't going to sit back and let her dreams pass her by. In the summer of 1949, after she turned 18, she won the titles of Miss 8-Ball and Miss Palm Springs. She succeeded the previous year's winner, an unknown named Marilyn Monroe. And no, before you ask, Miss 8-Ball wasn't a pool-playing competition. They were both early beauty and bikini pageants. And as she kept winning, Mamie later recalled that she didn't look like a normal woman. I was filling out in all the right places. I realised that I was probably meant to be a movie star. After her small acting role, Van Doren started singing with Ted Fiorito's band. She was determined to become a star, and nothing was going to stop her. She knew she wanted to be an entertainer, so she was trying to get her foot in the door through the beauty world, and something almost got in her way. She was discovered by Howard Hughes when she was still a teenager, had a nightclub act, and appeared on the stage after she was no longer in demand as a film actress. Howard Hughes spotted Joan Lucille Orlando and her voluptuous hourglass figure at Palm Springs Chi-Chi Club's beauty pageant and decided to turn her into a star. Soon after, she received an invite to RKO Studios. Now this era is a little hazy, as many accounts, including her own, state Joan was only 15 when she first met Hughes. A little research shows she was definitely 18 in 1949, but Mamie suggests she never told him her true age. One of the first things Hughes asked her was whether she was a virgin. Joan made her movie acting debut in Jet Pilot in 1950, but the John Wayne movie was not released until 1957 due to producer Howard Hughes's many lengthy delays. In Jet Pilot she only had one line, which was "Look." One of those delays was probably Joan herself, as the eccentric billionaire and the teenaged actress had embarked upon a steamy relationship. Movies might not have worked out for her right away, so Van Doren began working on the stage. She started as a showgirl in New York City in Monty Prosser's nightclub version of Billion Dollar Baby. While performing in the show, songwriter Jimmy McHugh discovered her for his musicals. McHugh was impressed with Van Doren, but thought she was too good for the chorus line and advised her to get dramatic training. She then went to study with Ben Bard at Bliss Hayden, an acting school. Luckily the training paid off, and while she was acting in production, the casting director at Universal saw her. Soon after, she became engaged to 55-year-old heavyweight boxing champion Jack Dempsey. She described him as, "like he was my age, we had a lot of fun together." But she kicked him to the curb the minute she signed a contract with Universal Studios. It wasn't even that tough a decision because he was a lousy lover. Her first actual movie role was an extra alongside Robert Mitchum and Jane Russell in His Kind of Woman. Mitchum used to invite her to his dressing room to teach her about acting, and it seems he was a complete gentleman. Moving to New York, Joan became a showgirl and appeared in 2 Tickets to Broadway. Her first major film role came in 1953's The All-American with Tony Curtis and Laurie Nelson, and it arrived almost as soon as she changed her name. Real names are for regular people, so she changed it when she signed her first studio contract. It was President Dwight Eisenhower's inauguration, so the studio heads decided to call her Mamie after Eisenhower's wife. Meanwhile, Van Doren was the name of a prominent family of American intellectuals, so they used it as her fake last name. The inspirations behind her name don't scream blonde bombshell, but the name was perfect for the time. When she took on this new name, it was a far cry from her life growing up in Iowa. Once casting director Phil Benjamin noticed Van Doren, her career was on the rise. During the late 1950s, the 3 M's of Hollywood were Mamie Van Doren, Marilyn Monroe, and Jane Mansfield. The 3 blonde bombshells were often up for the same parts and spent most of their lives competing because they shared many of the same talents and looked alike. The studios wanted us to be rivals, she told People in 1985, but we were really close friends. I was always one step behind Marilyn. She made all the right moves, hung out with the right people who could advance her career. I was just the opposite. I was always breaking dates with moguls and running off with guys younger than myself. When Van Doren turned down a Broadway role of a satirical Monroe send-off in Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter, Jane Mansfield took the part. The three of them pushed each other without knowing it, because a bit of competition makes people work harder. They were all equally appreciated for what they had to offer. In 1956, Van Doren starred alongside an unknown Clint Eastwood in Star in the Dust, and while she was happy to have more film roles, she was growing tired of Universal. She gained attention for billing alongside names like John Agar and Richard Boone, but she felt there was more for her out there. Universal continued to cast Van Doren in non-breakthrough roles, so she took matters into her own hands. She began more prominent roles in better movies with other studios. She started to become the go-to girl for bad girl roles, and this is where her career really hit a high. While she was playing bad girls on the big screen, Van Doren was also a bit of a wild card in real life. When she filmed The Beat Generation with Steve Cochran, she was married to her second husband, Ray Anthony. However, she wasn't exactly faithful to him when he wasn't around. She and Cochran had a hot and heavy affair. Immediately after shooting, they would jump into the dressing room and get it on. Unfortunately, Anthony came to visit his wife one day and entered her dressing room without knocking. He found her in a compromising position, but that didn't end their marriage. In the 1950s, the studio dropped her after her son was born, but she hustled her own way and has appeared in over 50 movies to date. After deciding to take roles from other studios, Van Doren starred in several films that became cult classics. One noteworthy role was in Untamed Youth, that featured rock and roll music for the first time. Her name became synonymous with the rebellious style of rockers, and she even recorded some rock records. Van Doren was a free agent, yet surprisingly struggled to find work. Some of her later movies were foreign or independent production, which did little to keep her in the public eye. Another famous blonde from the 50s and 60s, Grace Kelly, famously married Prince Rainier III of Monaco to become the world's most glam princess. So would you be surprised to hear that Mamie Van Doren almost beat her to becoming a princess in the 1950s? As parts in Hawaiian Nights, Yankee Pasha, and Francis Joins the WACs, all 1954, started rolling in, the then 66-year-old Prince Axel of Denmark was simultaneously on the hunt for a wife. Cousin to British King Edward VII and great-uncle to the current Queen of Denmark, Margrethe II, the Danish prince was quite the smitten kitten. He invited Mamie to Denmark 3 times to meet his royal family, but she turned him down every time. She was a woman every man lusted after. She was a sex symbol in her heyday, which meant every man in Hollywood wanted a chance to be with her. However, she claimed she turned down more lovers than she took up, and Van Doren had a funny way of keeping the men at bay. Her secret trick was a bit scandalous. She said, "I don't wear panties anymore. This startles the Hollywood wolves so much, they don't know what to pull at, so they leave me alone." While that might sound crazy, it worked for Van Doren, apparently. With her looks, it was hard to keep the men away. While her movie career might have ended in the 60s, Van Doren developed a nightclub act in Las Vegas during the 70s. She also took her talents to the stage and performed in the stage productions of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and Dames at Sea at the Drury Lane Theatre in Chicago. Van Doren was trying to keep her career alive in any capacity since she hadn't had a leading film role in a while. By this time she was the last of the 3 M's alive after Monroe and Mansfield tragically passed away during the 60s, so Van Doren was trying to keep her name relevant. While she knows her curvaceous figure helped her career immensely, she always thought she could do more than the dumb blonde roles she was given. She once said she wanted to do the Jean Harlow roles because they focused less on looks and more on talent. Van Doren said her movie career ended in the 70s because the days of blondes came to an end after Monroe and Mansfield died. She also said that because she had a young son, she didn't want him growing up around all the drugs in Hollywood, so she removed herself from the scene. She has no regrets about leaving Hollywood because she made over 40 movies during her career and got to work worldwide. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new here, and if you want to support my work, please visit my Patreon page. Now it is your turn. What do you think about the life and legacy of Mamie Van Doren?